Good morning. Hello, welcome everyone. Okay, perfect. Okay, perfect. So let's start with no further delay. Welcome everyone to this last webinar from the series that is dedicated for digital innovation hubs that is related to on how to boost artificial intelligence adoption in your region. As you know, this webinar is organized by FundingBox under the initiatives or the AI-related initiatives that is BonSubs and Starway. And I'm Izabela Zrazinska, the Senior Project Manager engaged in one of these initiatives. And I'm also a host for these free webinars. And as I mentioned, this is the last one. So today, the main focus after the two previous sessions that were focused on the cascade funding opportunities and writing the winning proposal, we will focus on the networking because we believe in order to boost the AI adoption, it is important to share the good practices and the networking. And that is why today this is the most communicative webinar from all of these, because it's participative, I would say. And today's webinar was prepared and will be led by Roi Rodríguez, who is the Program Manager and Business Development Manager at FundingBox. And we also have invited the Digital Innovation Hub member to share with you the experience on how to actually use the network of the Digital Innovation Hubs, the Daniel Alonso Roman, who is the Artificial Intelligence and Big Data Partnership Driver at Instituto Tecnológico de Informática in Valencia, and he's also a chairman of the Big Data Value Alliance and the coordinator of the EU Hubs for Data project. So welcome, Roy. Welcome, Daniel. Okay. So for the agenda, as I mentioned, we'll brief you about the European AI landscape and ecosystem. And then Daniel will share with you the experience from the Digital Innovation Hub's experience on how to build alliance at the European level. And then the second part of the webinar will be the workshop. It's about the methodology and different topics. And at the end, we'll close this webinar with the final conclusions, not only from this webinar, but also I will summarize what we have learned in the previous two webinars from this series. As for the house rules, so all of you are automatically muted, okay? But as this webinar is participative, if you have any questions or you want to speak, please raise your hand and we will unmute you. And what is important to take into account that this webinar is recorded, and if you can include your real names and surnames in the title of your username, it will be very helpful. Also, as I mentioned, because this is about networking, so it would be great to know who you are. And if you have any technical problems, please contact Innovations Webinar. This is the technical team managing all the technical part of the webinar that hopefully can help you. And the last thing that I wanted to mention, last two things, as you know, also this series of webinars is organized in order to do something bigger, okay? And we'll prepare actually afterwards the reports that will be based on the survey that is filled by the participants from this webinar. So please take your time and take 7 and up to 10 minutes to fill it out and help us to define what are the main challenges in your regions for the AI adoption, and also to help us to define what are your needs. So all these answers will be gathered, were gathered through all the free webinars, and we'll send the reports to all the participants afterwards. So thank you for your help with advance. And also the last announcement as the welcome part, in order to build your alliances, we have created the Mural tool. We'll send it to you afterwards. So if you would like to network and keep in touch with the participants that will participate in today's workshop, you can log in and write there your short description on who you are and what services you offer and what you're actually looking for. So that this will be open also after the workshop, so you can use it whatever you want to connect with the ecosystem built on today's workshop. And that's all from my side. I will now pass the leadership of this webinar to Roi.
Thank you, Isa. Now you can see my screen, right?
Yes.
Okay, so, well, as Isa said, I'm Roi Rodríguez. I'm leading the AI, blockchain and EGA projects at FundingBox, and today I'm going to present you the European AI landscape and ecosystem. But let me start presenting you some figures, the status of the AI business market, and also the comparison of where Europe is with respect to the other two biggest markets in the world, the US and China. So, according to a McKinsey report, you know, the actual volume of the global AI market is around $190 billion, or it was last year, and it foresees 40% compound annual growth rate until 2028, which means that the AI global market will be multiplied by 10 by 2028. Okay. Another interesting side from this report is that 2/3 of the CEOs that were surveyed consider that AI will influence the business world even more than the internet. You know, where is Europe with respect to the other two biggest markets? You know, Europe is lagging behind both in the digital ICT and also in funding, both from public and private sources. This is based on some reports from 2019. It is true that in the last State of the European Tech report that was released by the end of last year, there is an evolution in the private investment in Europe, with raising $120 billion. That is a record amount. And, you know, there are some signs that it is getting better or improving. Like, for example, that Europe is leading in the rounds above $5 million. You know that it was a big challenge for European companies to raise the last rounds, and last year Europe was leading in this part. And what about on the research side? On the research side, as you can see here, in terms of number of papers, Europe is second, just behind China, and in terms of number of researchers, Europe is in the first compared with the three main markets. So all these numbers show that Europe is lagging behind, but there is a gap between Europe and the other markets, but also that this gap could be overcome, right? For this, the European Commission has put the strategy on AI. This strategy implies an investment of around 1 billion, public investment from the European Commission of around 1 billion euros until 2028, mainly through the Horizon Europe and the Digital Europe programs. And the goal is that this public investment will lead to a 20 billion euros of annual investment from private sources. Okay. And there are some reports that already are confirming or even showing that these numbers are even better, like the IDC report that was just released that has shown that the total investment in AI in Europe last year was around 17 billion and foresees a total investment of around 50 billion by 2025. But then where is this billion of euros going, or this investment? Here, this slide was prepared by the University of Cork and is part of the Strengthen the Digital Innovation Hubs through the AI on Demand platform white paper that has just been released, and that I think is really interesting and really valuable for DIH. So here you can see the whole European AI landscape. On one side, on the left part of the slide, you can see all the different initiatives and all the different projects that were approved, and mostly under the Horizon 2020 program. Okay, we will go through some of them in detail later on. Here in the upper side, you can see different associations, PPPs, and so on. Also, you can see different research associations like CLARE, LDC, AI, the different initiatives on trustworthy AI, and the European Investment Fund of 100 million euros in AI and blockchain that is already operating. So here in this slide, as you can see, there are many different initiatives coming from European projects, associations, PPPs, and so on. And the goal is with this to get to reach the industry, the experts, developers, data scientists, and so on, and foster the AI in Europe. Yeah. So let's go then to see a bit in detail each of those parts. Let's start with European projects. Here we are showing the evolution of the DIH community in European projects since several years ago and until today. As you can see, there are different initiatives like I4MS, the ICT for manufacturing SMEs, that is encouraging the digitization of manufacturing companies. In the last call, here you can see the projects that are already operating, that are 6 projects operating, and one more call was closed this year that will approve 5 new projects under this initiative. We have other initiatives, like, for example, the networks of digital innovation hubs in robotics, networks in manufacturing in robotics, in civil inspection, maintenance and robotics, in agri-food in robotics, and so on, that are all those projects: Trinity, RIMA, DH Hero, AgroFood, and DH Square. And there are other initiatives like the ones under the BDBA, like the Big Data Innovation Hubs, that includes EU Hubs for Data, project coordinated by Danny, that I believe he will present some details afterwards, or like I4Trust, in which we are involved. Both projects are building a network of DIH in big data. We have other initiatives, like, for example, Smart Anything Everywhere, with projects like TetraMax or Smart for All, or other initiatives also in photonics, like Photon Hub Europe. Well, as I mentioned, all the details of these are included in this white paper, the Strengthening DIH with the European AI on Demand platform, prepared by the UCC and EIT Digital with the support of different experts, and endorsed by the AI on Demand platform. Another main initiative is the AI on Demand platform itself. This started on 2019 for EU, and was continued by other projects that are now active, like the ICT 49, that those projects are fostering the adoption of AI by SMEs. They have calls open and will have calls open in the next months for the adoption of AI by SMEs. There is also the initiative of the Network of Excellence that were approved under the ICT 48, 4 different network of excellence, gathering the main research organizations working in AI all around Europe. And those were approved under Horizon 2020, and under Horizon Europe there are, and there will be more calls in the coming months. Another interesting initiative is the data spaces. That this is going to be one of the big initiatives under Horizon Europe. The EU strategy for data aims at creating a single market for data that will ensure EU global competitiveness and sovereignty. And this EU data spaces initiative will ensure that more data becomes available for the use of in the economy and the society. As you can see here, there will be 9 different data spaces created in different sectors, from health to finance, from manufacturing to public administration. Some of the calls in Horizon Europe have been already closed in March. Some are closing now in May, and there will be also some calls this autumn, around November. Okay, besides the European projects, here I included some other initiatives that might be interesting, like, for example, the research associations. Europea is the European association that gathers the national associations in artificial intelligence. And then 2 networks of researchers, Claire and Elise. For you to know, out of the 5 ICT 48 projects approved in Horizon 2020 with a total budget of 50 million euros, 4 of them were led by Claire, and 1 of them by Claire representatives, and 1 of them by Elise representatives. This shows the importance of being part of those networks to position those yourself in Europe. Then we have the European Investment Fund that has 100 million euros for startups to invest in startups in AI and blockchain. Then we have initiatives under the Trustworthy AI, like the AI Alliance. The AI Alliance has today around 4,000 members, is organizing meetings periodically, and has also an online community. So it's also a good space to connect. Or the European Digital SME Alliance that also organizes different events throughout the year, and also has a very interesting newsletter to follow, and so on. And then we have the public-private partnerships, or the associations that came after those partnerships. We have the Big Data Value Association that has been there for many years, and you know, that is still very active, and organizes an annual event and has different working groups working in different areas. We have Roi Rodríguez that again also is organizing an annual event, the European Robotics Forum, and also has different working groups to which you can contribute. And the new one, you know, the new one on the table, that is ADRA, the AI Data and Robotics Association. That is the private part of the AI PPP that is still not very active. It was constituted last year and is still not very active. But for you to know, ADRA is composed of BDVA, Roi Robotics, AI, Claire, and Elise. Okay, so yeah, it's gathering the main associations today in the area in Europe. Okay, and just to finalize, what you can do to build your alliances, you know, you can join and contribute to different associations, the PPPs that I presented, or the research associations presented. The research associations, you know, you can join through different researchers or research organizations in your regions, and so on. Also, the trustworthy AI initiatives, like the ones to presented, the AI Alliance and Digital SME, where that are spaces where you can network, meet people, and so on. And you know, being there, being in this type of associations will make it easier for you to participate in European projects. In European projects, you can participate in existing projects already approved, applying to cascade funding, like for example in for Trust or UHAS for Data or DIH for AI, but also participating as supportive partners, joining events, and so on. Here I included a couple of links where you can see all the projects that are active in this area. And also in the FundingBox one, including the AI projects. And finally, you can also participate in new projects applying through the participant portal, right? I think that the 2 of the main initiatives in the coming years will be the AI on demand continuation projects, and also the data spaces. Well, and that's all from my side. I took 5 minutes more than expected, but I don't know if you have any questions or I can take them. If not, I can leave the floor to you, Danny, that will present their experience from IT.
Thank you, Roy. Let me share my screen. So I guess that you can hear me well and see my screen, right? I hope so.
Yes.
So yeah, good morning, everyone. And first of all, thanks a lot, Roy and colleagues from FundingBox for giving us the opportunity to present our organization in front of this audience, and also to share our experience and our learnings with all of you in regarding our positioning in the AI European landscape. Also really happy that you already show in your slides two initiatives where we are playing a very active role, which are PDBA on the one hand and the PPP associated, and also you have for data that we are coordinating, because I will tell more about those initiatives in my presentation. So my name is Daniel Alonso, and as you presented before, I am the driver in the ITI for partnerships on AI and big data at European and national level. ITI is a research and technology organization in the Valencia region in Spain. Our main goal is to foster the adoption of digital technologies in our region, in our ecosystem, and also to help SMEs, basically small actors, SMEs in a startup and so on, to benefit from this adoption, to foster their product services and make them more and more competitive. Okay, here you can see the numbers. For ITI, we have been working for more than 25 years. And we are at the core of a whole ecosystem in Valencia, but also in Spain, that includes universities, includes other technology centers focused on other technologies in Valencia, but also in Spain. We have contact with the Chamber of Commerce in Valencia, and also in touch with several industry associations in Valencia and in Spain. All in all, we have more than 250 companies associated to ITI, and more than 300 customers. And well, yes, this is what I was trying to show in this slide. Okay, our ecosystem and basically the different components of it. Of course, we are focused on the digital technologies, and we have tried to distribute all our capacities and research lines around data, around the value chain of data. And so this is what you can see in this slide, how we have managed to distribute all our technologies around the different steps on the data value chain, from data acquisition with cyber physical system and other tools, also through communication, through IoT and wireless networks, distributed storage through cloud computing, edge and fog, processing, management and advanced analytics through data integration and other aspects of the data management and data analytics and so on. Also applied optimization techniques to get the more value out of data and statistic analysis. And finally, tools from artificial intelligence for deep learning, predictive technologies, pattern recognition, and so on. So again, and we have called our DIH the data cycle hub, because again, all our activities in our hub can be again distributed around the different steps of the data value chain. So just going to the point of this webinar, this presentation, I'm going to show you the positioning of ITI in the AI European landscape. I will go from the more general aspect to the more specific ones. So let me just start with probably a fact that is common to most of all of you, because we were recognized as DIH on AI and big data from 2018 in the portal of the Commission. You know that it was not a very big deal, because we just had to fill out this questionnaire. But for us, it was the first step for our hub to be recognized at European level, and also to get visibility at European level. Okay. Following this activity, we were also included in the AI DIH network. It was a project that was launched in 2018. It was coordinated by Pricewaterhouse and CARSA, and they selected the most relevant DIHs in Europe on AI, and ITI was part of these 30 hubs. Okay. Then we have coordinated in Valencia region the candidate for DIHs in the Digital Europe program. I guess that most of you are aware of this call, to select the most relevant European DIHs in Europe and to create this network of hubs in Europe based on AI, cybersecurity, and HPC, also part of the Digital Europe program. So ITI, we have coordinated the candidate in the Valencia region, and we are very confident that our proposal will succeed and will represent the AI ecosystem in our region. We are also members of the board of directors of Gaia X. From the very beginning, we have been also very active in Gaia X, and my colleague Dani Saed is member of the board of Gaia X, and we are also members of Gaia X Spain for sure, and we are contributing also to different nodes of Gaia X in different data spaces in Spain. And finally, also related to AI, not completely focused on AI, but also related, we are members of IoT, NESI, IDSA, EXO, and other European initiatives. As Roi mentioned before, BDBA was founded in 2014, is the European Industry Association fostering adoption of data all around Europe, and BDBA and ITI, we are founding members of BDBA. We are also part of the board of directors and BDBA, and for me, what is quite relevant is that in my case, myself, I am chairing the iSpaces group of BDBA that now is composed of 36 hubs all around Europe. You can see the whole picture here. iSpaces is an instrument that BDBA from the very beginning identified as a key element to foster data-driven experimentation in Europe. So basically, the concept is quite similar to a digital innovation hub on big data. Because at the end of the day, what we are doing is bringing all the pieces together and giving access to SMEs and startups in our ecosystem to a whole environment for data-driven experimentation. So every year, BDBA, we launch a call to identify more iSpaces all around Europe to increase this group and to foster collaboration among those data-driven hubs in all around Europe. So we are quite active on that. I'm really proud because in my case, I am chairing this group, and I am really very proud to see that the group is keeping growing and growing every year. Based on this group of iSpaces group of BDBA, we presented a proposal to the Commission, a part of our Horizon 2020 program, the DCTICT 05, Big Data-Driven Innovation Hubs, to create the so-called Federation of Data-Driven Innovation Hubs in Europe, and our proposal was accepted. All the hubs that compose this federation now are iSpaces, because we want that both initiatives converge in a single federation of data-driven hubs in Europe. And this is basically the main goal for this project, to become the reference on Europe in cross-border data experimentation and innovation. The project is based on different pillars, and you can see here the most relevant ones. On the one hand, the federation of hubs, which represent the offer side. On the other, the SMEs and the experiments that represent the demand side. And in linking both is our catalog, our federated catalog, that is not only that we are bringing together all our services, data sets, and training all the hubs in one single catalog, but this catalog is also the meeting point of all the hubs and the point of collaboration. So all of us are collaborating in this catalog and making it available to SMEs in our local ecosystem, again, to foster, as you know, the main objective, data-driven innovation and experimentation in Europe. Again, this project is very much linked with the BDBA Spaces group, and the idea is to create this federation that will live after the project, that will be sustainable and evolve also after the project is done. Okay. Just to show you the path that we have followed to reach this positioning that I explained before. So we have been very active in the last year. So let me just summarize the path that we have followed. Okay, in 2014, BDBA was created, and ET was a founding member of the association. And we, at the beginning, we were also leading Task Force 4, which was marketing and communication. We are not leading this task force anymore, but it was as such as the beginning. We were quite active, and we organized, I guess, the third BDBA summit in 2016. It was organized in Valencia, and for that, ITI, we got some quite visibility in BDBA, mostly because of the summit, but also because of other activities that we were running at this time. At this time in 2017, the first project of the big data value PPP started, and we were part of some of them, for instance, transforming transport and big data value ecosystem project. We were labeled as a BDBI space in 2017, and in 2017 it started our path as the BDBI space which concept I explained before. We keep participating in other projects of the big data value PPP. And in 2018, as I mentioned before, our hub, the Data Cycle Hub, was recognized as a DIH on big data and AI from the Commission. Okay, we were selected as part of this project, as I mentioned before. In 2019, we were finalists of the DIH Champion Challenge that was carried out by, if I'm not wrong, DIH. I don't know the name. Also, FundingBox is part of that. Sorry, DIH Net. Yeah. And we are also a member of the IDSA. We, as mentioned before, coordinating the regional candidate to EDI in Valencia. We are a member of the new generation data incubators in the Big Data Value PPP, a member of GaiaX. We are also coordinating data ports, which is one of the data platforms that the Commission is funded under the Big Data Value PPP, in this case in the seaport and logistic domain. And well, it's not the last point, but at last, our more relevant aspect, we are coordinating this European Federation of Data-Driven Innovation Hubs. So those slides summarizes our path to our position right now. So this is basically what that I wanted to share with you. Just a few, of course, it's not a big deal. Probably those aspects you know better than me, but I also wanted to summarize at least our in my case, you know, the lesson learned that I think that are nice to share with you. Of course, if you have the resources and the time. So for me, it's important to be present in the different European innovation ecosystems. So it's quite straightforward, but not only to be present, but to be to participate very actively, contribution to the agendas, position papers, leading activities and pitches and so on. Also important to align your needs with those of the community. And identify synergies with other hubs and other members of the community and explore potential collaboration, and also to be in contact with the Commission and get visibility at European level. Again, it's very straightforward, but I just wanted to highlight those aspects. And just my last two slides as a matter of opportunity for you. If you want to be part of the AI Spaces group of BDBA, keep in mind that this is an open call. Okay, we are launching the open call for 2022 very soon. Most likely in May. So I encourage you to stay tuned to the channels of BDBA, because again, it's an open call, and if you want to be part of this ecosystem, if you are a hub on big data or you are more or less those capacities, you are encouraged and welcome to apply to this open call, and again, be part of this community that I presented before. And finally, in New Hubs for Data, we are launching the third open call for experiments in September. So if you are an SME or you know, or you have SMEs in your ecosystem and you want to share with them this opportunity, I think it is also important, it's interesting if they want to use our services, the service of the hubs, or the support, be part of the ecosystem from the demand side also, and participating in our program for experiments. And this is all from my side. I know that I was a bit quickly. I didn't have much time. I wanted to share much information with you. Anyway, you have here my email address. If you want to contact back with me, feel free to do it, and I will be more than happy to talk to you and collaborate on the other endeavors. Okay, thanks a lot, and that's all from my side.
Thank you very much, Danny. So now we will start making you some questions, mainly on three different aspects. We will start with some question profiling a bit you, with a couple of questions on this, then some questions on the use of AI and what are the main challenges in general and in your region on the use of AI, and finally we will talk also about the network and the different alliances at European level and so on. So I'm gonna launch the first question. I believe that now you can see the question.
Yes, now you are seeing a question and you have 1 minute to reply. So
yeah, this first one is just for us to know how long have you been working in AI. Okay. So yeah, it seems that 2/3. Okay, now I can close it, right? And it seems that 2/3 of you have been working between 1 and 5 years, and only 8%, let's say, are experts with more than 5 years working on it. And finally, only 25% less than 1 year. Let's continue with the second profiling question. This question is about what is the typical profile of the SMEs that are looking for support in the adoption in your ecosystem. When we talk about beginners, we are talking about those that have identified some use cases, but have not assessed their value or taking steps to implement such solutions. Early adopters, they have not identified any use cases yet. Experimenters, they have identified use cases both for AI solutions in their organizations, and they are also starting to implement such solutions. Okay, and then when we talk about experts, are organizations that is using AI solutions both for services, products, business process, or different areas. It seems that this time I'm gonna close the poll, and it seems that this time almost 50% are beginners and early adopters, and only around 9% are experimenters. So okay. So let's continue with the next question on the poll. Here we start with the questions related with the use of AI. And for this first one, what do you consider that are the main challenges for the implementation and use of AI? Those challenges are related with the skills, with employees that are not ready for the AI transformation, that they need more training and so on. They are related with the data, with the lack of data, because the companies don't have it, because they are not collecting it, or because this data is not ready to be used. The lack of AI customized solutions, the lack of funding, or finally the complexity of the solutions, that AI tools are too complicated and companies need systems that are adapted to their needs. Okay, so in this case, there are the skills and data are by far the two elements that you consider that are the main challenges, with 90 and 75%. And then funding and AI solutions and lack of customized solutions are around 33% in total. This is a bit aligning with different webinars and panels in which we have been participating in the last times, where data and skills are usually together with funding are usually main challenges. So yeah. So then let's move on to the next question that is again related to the use of AI, but in this case, sorry, I have to launch it. But in this case, connected, you know, according to your experience, what are the biggest challenges for your organization in providing your ecosystem with AI-related support? It is related with the lack of resources and time, with raising awareness about AI adoption, with the lack of network between organizations or lack of online collaborative tools and so on, with the interoperability and data sharing issues, or need for legal agreements. Okay, you know, at the same time that you are voting, if any of you want to contribute, or want to discuss any of the results in the poll, just raise your hand and we can discuss it. Okay. So in this case, it's clear that the main challenge that you are facing is the raising awareness about the AI adoption among the early adopters. And also related with the lack of resources and time. I don't know, Danny, maybe could you share, I don't know, if you are experiencing the same challenges in your region, do you agree with the results of this poll that raising awareness about the AI adoption is one of the main challenges?
Yeah, sure, Roy. Well, since I saw that we don't have to vote, but you're right. I basically agree with most of the responses that our colleagues are answering. Yes, well, basically, raise awareness is one of them. Also, as was mentioned before, access to data and so on. So, yes, basically, I agree with the answers and the responses. Yes.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, Danny. So let's move to the last group of questions related to, you know, related to your network, the AI alliances, and the participation in European projects. And let's start, you know, checking how many of you are participating actually in European projects and the number of European projects in which you are participating now. Okay. So in this case, it seems that, you know, around 1/3 of you is not participating in any European project. So let's hope that this webinar will help you to position the ecosystem and support you to be part of the first one. And also 60% is participating just in 1 to 3 projects. And let's say experts is, or people that is participating in 3 to 5 or even more than 5 projects are around 15% of the audience. So let's move on to the next one. That is related with what are the expectations that your DIHs have with respect to participating in European projects. It can be business support, you know, a networking space to find funding and sponsors, to connect with news on European AI opportunities, open calls, information about the Horizon Europe digital programs, and so on. Everything related with the business support, with the ecosystem support, access to an ecosystem of researchers, industry, AI experts, and so on. Technical support, and this technical support at different levels, with access to testing and experimentation facilities, in access to data or access to matchmaking tools and so on, and then in ethics or legal or access to funding. And it seems that in this case, the funding is your main driver to participate in European projects, but you know, there are also many people interested also because of the ecosystem, the technical, or even the business support. Okay, so let's move on to the last two questions. This was related to, you know, in terms of business, in terms of technical support, which are the main expectations of your DIHs related to the access to AI tools and resources, best practices, data services, or matchmaking tools? Okay. So it seems that it seems that the access to AI tools and resources is the main expectations in terms of technical support, followed by data services, data processing, and so on. Okay. Okay, and finally, the last question related to your participation in different organizations. Can you share with us if you are part of any of those organizations, of the BBA, ADRA, Claire Ellis, or the Europea? Okay, so it seems that 30% of you voted this, and this 30% are part of PDBA. Okay. Okay, so that was it for the poll. Main conclusions is that you know, 2/3 of the participants have been working in AI for 1 to 5 years. In the support to the SMEs, most of the audiences are beginners or early adopters, 90%. On the main challenges, are the main one is related with skills, with 90% of the votes, followed by lack of data, lack of customized solutions with around 50 and 70%. And then the funding is really behind, around 27% of the votes. Regarding the challenges that you are experiencing are mainly related with the raising awareness about AI, but also connected with data and the lack of resources and so on. And most of the participants have some experience, around 30% no experience in participating in European projects, and the expectations of participating in the projects for most of you is the funding, but also is connected with building an ecosystem and business opportunities and so on. And many of you are, only 30% of the participants are part of one of the big associations here, that is the BDBA. So I don't know if any of you wants to comment any on those results or have any question for us. I think there's no hands raised. Okay, so thank you very much to all of you for participating in the call and for providing your inputs and so on. And now I give the floor to my colleague Isa to close this webinar and then this series of 3 webinars, right, Isa?
Yes, thank you, Roi, for reading this part. I believe it's very interesting also to get the feedback from the participants and to get to know you better. So I'm not sure if I can get the screen sharing option. If Laura can make me perfect. Okay. I will now change the slide and we can summarize. As I mentioned, not only the networking one, because I think we got some lesson today on the main needs, and also, as you know, we will publish the report related to these questions. Okay, so the conclusions from the Digital Innovation Hub series. But I just wanted to briefly summarize, maybe for those of you that could not attend the previous ones, the lessons learned, okay, on top of the networking one. So of course everything is available also in our community, but on the first webinar we have introduced you the cascade funding opportunities. I'm not sure how many of you is aware of that, but for instance the open call that was presented by Daniel before is one of the funding opportunities, right? How the AI adoption could be boosted in your region. So we have seen that many of you, I'm sorry, I don't know why it's okay, that many of you are also looking for funding. So these open calls are usually dedicated to the SMEs, but in some cases the project has also funding for Digital Innovation Hub's participation. And for those of you that are not familiar with cascade funding concept, it is the concept that allows to make a bit easier access to funding. So basically the European Commission is funding the project, like for instance BonSubs, okay, that is created by a consortium of many partners that some Digital Innovation Hubs can be also part of. And the consortium is creating the support program with the funding that was also granted by European Commission, and the funding is redistributed through the open calls. So basically we prepare the criteria and then we select the best in class or the best fit that can be funded and supported through the program. So that allows the redistribution, and here are some of the funding opportunities in which FundingBox is engaged. So for instance, the one that I think, because also I saw from the summary that one of the big problems or the challenges in your region is the skilled personnel. So that is actually something that we try to solve in the BonSubs and Starway initiatives. So first we have the open expression of interest to validate and gather the pool of the AI talents that can be data scientists, developers, that can actually support the SMEs in these tasks, and also HPC providers. So this is like ongoing open call, ongoing expression of interest, but it's very short, and we just gather the pool of this skilled personnel. And then these people or these stakeholders will be engaged with the SMEs, okay, so that are looking for support to adopt the AI in their processes. And this is a goal of the second open call that will be launched in BondSAPS in August, and very similar one for the Stairway or iEnergy. And iEnergy, of course, it's a bit more special because it's focused on the energy applications, but still all these three projects has funding for SMEs that aim to support the adoption of AI. On the second webinar, that was on 12th April, we have explained a bit more on how to write the winning proposals. So I really invite you to check the video of Graciela Garrido from FundingBox, and there she explained on the open call. So we showed the application template where you actually can see that usually it's very short. It takes 1 up to 2 days to write the proposal. So this is the easy way to apply, and also through FundingBox we try to follow the scheme that is easy to understand. And there are usually the section that is excellence, impact, and implementation that are evaluated. And of course, there's a set of documents like guide for applicants or frequently asked questions or any webinars that are always included on the open call website. And here, just the glance of how the support program looks like. On this second webinar, I have explained on the compliance part about this support program. So basically what the funding can be used for and how it is usually structured. Here you can see quite standard one with the introduction where the individual mentoring plan is prepared, then with the development side and the scalability at the end, when we usually add also the business support element and the fundraising. Okay, so this is, of course, it's adapted to each program, but this is the perfect example. And that's it from my side and from our side. I hope you enjoyed this series of the webinars. You can join the community to see the resume of each of the contents. And the last thing that I wanted to remind you, that if you have attended at least one webinar, so for instance only today but also the previous one, you can get certified. The only thing that we ask you to help us with is to fill out this survey before 13th May, and then you can get, here is the example of such a certificate that we'll send to all the participants that have helped us to fill out the survey. Here is the link. I believe also it was copied into the chat. So hopefully you enjoyed this part, and thank you very much for today, and to Roi and to Daniel for the participation, and enjoy the rest of the day. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.